We are live. Stephanie, how are you? Nick Carroll. Marcy, how are you? Nick. Lisa Foy. Hello, hello, hello. Wesley September, how are you, my friend? Start the live stream a little early. Hey, Sharon. What's up, Five Rings? How's my buddy? I'm glad that you're awesome there. Wesley, Snowman Dave, Ryu. You did get in first, Stephanie. You were in first. Jess B, how are you? Just chilling. I hear you, brother. You're early tonight. Five Rings. Did you order the World Championship Dodger hat that they have out? I did. No gig tonight. I did, and I'm gonna like leave it in a bag next to my the Japanese Tokyo series hat that I have. I mean, they are technically, I was thinking about this and I was like, because someone said, why are you a Dodgers fan? Because you're from New York. And I'm like, check this out. Glens Falls, New York, where I live, has a sister city in Japan called Saga. So like, I'm destined to love the Dodgers because the Dodgers are Japan's team. So it only makes sense. What's up, Harry? Stacy Lockett, how are you, dear? It's a Melvin sweatshirt. Arabic! What's up, my brother? Very interesting name. Holy cow. Smitty! Annette Perez, how are you? You're not late, brother. I hope you got I hope you like burnt the Mothman's wings with a lighter. Sharon's mom, how are you? I hope you enjoy the live stream. I will try not to be vulgar. I hope you enjoy the Lizzo stories, though, because I've got 3 good ones. Lizzo meets and Elvis. The Puckwudgies make a return, and there will be a wedding tonight. There will be a wedding. Nexus, how are you? I'm just joking there, good girl. Monkey Crap, Sonny, the Wandering Gypsy, how are you? Don Combs, how are you tonight, buddy? Tyler, what's going on tonight? Ermic, you're always vulgar, my brother. Oh, that's too good. That's too good, Sharon. That is too good. Jim Baker, how are you? Jim Baker asks the same question all the time just to razz me. $421 with a wheelchair. That's very interesting. You know I don't smoke the devil's lettuce, douche nozzle. What's up, Ginger? I know you do, though, Jimmy Baker. You smoke it with Tammy. I do often with the lizards. You make an apple bowl and smoke it out of Tammy's booty hole. You dirty dog, you. What's up, Wiley? You will have snow. You'll have snow. I don't think we'll have snow. Actually, I was talking to my dad about that. 5 rings like that one. I was talking to my dad about that today because in 1 week will be Tom Mezek's 10-year anniversary since Tom Mezek has disappeared. And I'm just gonna make the announcement now, and I will through the rest of the week. But next week's live stream is probably going to be on Friday because the 15th is Isabel's birthday. And so I'll probably do the live stream on Friday night instead of Saturday night. I'm not sure yet. But I'll make the announcements throughout the week and I'll post it in the community post. Just because. Did Jane pop in where I didn't see her? I did not see Jane pop in. Where is Jane? Jesse, good. How are you? Adam Condon, how are you, buddy? I'm not going to do 2 because my daughter's birthday is on Saturday, Jim. So why would I? You missed the whole concept of that, didn't you? Ricardo. Wendy, hello. Did I miss Jane? How did I miss Jane? Where is Jane? I didn't miss Jane. Is Jane here? Shut up, Tigger. Tigger now cries outside of Isabel's room because he wants to play with the cats. But then when I let them out to play, he just wants to beat up Apollo. He's such an asshole. Let me check on Jane real quick. I don't have anything new from Janie, so I'm assuming Janie will pop in sometime soon. I'm not going to bother her just in case she's sleeping. Sean McCabe, what's up, brother? She'll pop in. I'm just not going to bother her in case she's Wiley. That's exactly what he is. Andy Davis, how are you, my friend? Johnny Ohm. Anybody watching the new show Derry? Welcome to Derry. Very interesting. I like the spin they're putting on it. On the It. I'm doing well. Thank you. T-Wave, how are you? 50. Yeah. It's like I guess it's almost like a prequel to the It. It's like 1966, I think, is the year. It's really good. I think it's I like how they are adding history to something. I mean, there already was history in like the clips, but I don't know if anybody has ever read the Stephen King book. Was it November 17th, 1960 something, when Kennedy was assassinated, the day Kennedy was assassinated. But in that book, hang on one second. Stephen King book based on the same day and year Kennedy was assassinated. And don't talk to me.
Many of Stephen King's books are
I just told you not to talk to me.
Places, and themes within the same universe.
Stupid.
The Dark Tower series is central, with characters and elements appearing in other novels.
11/22/63. Shut up, lady. 11/22/63. In that book, he time travels, not in the show, but in the book, he time travels and goes to Derry. And as he's in Derry, he runs into the kids and he sees Pennywise. And Derry is just a complete shithole because Pennywise had wreaked havoc on it. It's pretty interesting. No, nothing bad. Sniff it out. Thank you for asking. That is true, Stephanie. That is true. Oh, I'm glad that you're here too. Usually offensive. Donna Harmon, how are you tonight? Nice seeing you. Good to see you. A Spartan versus a Dogman? Dogman. I'd have to say Dogman. I mean, unless no, because like Spartacus is not a Spartan, not in the Spartacus TV show. Dude, you guys ever watched that TV show, the Spartacus one from like 2011? There's like four seasons to it. It's pretty freaking good. There's a giant in it. There's actually like a giant in the show, and he's got 6 fingers and 6 toes. Yes, Arabic, it is good, right? Gannicus is the best fighter on the show. Way better than Spartacus. Yes, definite liberties taken. My dad so last live stream last week, I didn't realize, but my dad had gotten up, and in the middle of the night, my mom didn't let me know until the morning, and he lost his balance when he was taking a whiz and fell through the shower glass doors at their house. Ironically enough, like a week or two before that, I was talking to my mom about getting rid of the glass doors, like taking the whole track out and putting something better in. And he fell through them and fucking just laced his arm right up. And so she calls me at like 11 in the morning on Sunday and like, we're taking your dad to the hospital. I'm like, why? What happened? And she's like, oh, he fell last night at like, I don't know, 2 in the morning. I'm like, and you're just now taking him to the hospital? I'm like, how'd you get it to stop bleeding, Mom? And she's like, oh, I just like got some of that compression tape and wrapped it around his arm. His arm's okay. He didn't want to go until this morning. And I show up, and they put that suture glue and then the steri strips because it was too late to do sutures. So I'm like, geez, I'm crow. And then my dad's trying to hook me up with the doctor. I'm like, come on, Dad, knock it off. He's like, that's my son, Jeff, right there. He's a YouTuber. I'm like, that's all right. He's okay. He's okay. He's a tough old dog. It's funny. And then my dad goes, "You smell good," to the doctor. And then my dad, or she goes, "I think that's your son. I smelled him when he came in." And my dad goes, "See, you like him already." And I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm like, shut up, Jim. I'll fucking cut your other arm. You douche nozzle. All right. So I know they're embarrassing. My dad is like, he's like, yeah, look at her. All right. I got some pretty good experiences. I got some great Lizzo stories. Someone gets married in the Lizzo universe. An Elvis impersonator, or it may be the real Elvis, shows up. And is Brian Mons here? Because the Puck Wudgies make a return. So I think it will be good. Hannah Banana, how are you? FDL. George, how are you, my friend? I imagine she does give lap dances, but I'm not guessing you would want to get one from her just because, you know. I'm not saying, I mean, maybe I would, you know. I heard Lizzo's like mopeds. Lizzo's fun to ride when your friends aren't around. So thanks, Vibranks. Yeah, he's doing well. It was just so funny that like he's asking questions. He's like, because she brought up tetanus shot, and she goes, "Have you had your tetanus shot?" And I'm like, "Of course, my mom is, you know, trying to process everything." And excuse me. I'm like, "Yeah, he had it 2 years ago from when he had his surgery, and then he went into his crash there." And so she starts talking to him about it, and I'm like, "It was 2 years ago." And she goes, "Oh, he doesn't need it then." And then my dad looks at her and he goes, "Are we getting the tetanus shot or what? What's going on?" And like, he's just so weird. Like, I'm like, "You don't need one, Jim. You don't need one." He is a good dad. He is a good dad, Nicole. Yes, the doctor was quite attractive, Sean. Quite well, I mean, she was pretty. She was pretty. I don't know. That's what I was like, well, you know, she's a doctor. I'm like, she's pretty. I'm like, she's taken. She's taken. I'm like, and she's not gonna want me. All right. Let's start this night with a Dogman experience. And then I've got a pretty cool one with some pictures. I do get red-faced, Marcy. I do. I get a little embarrassed sometimes. I get embarrassed easily. I'm no game. Hello, everyone. I have not shared this with hardly anyone and have seldom shared my encounter with a dogman, so here goes. 2006, Central Kentucky. It was in September, and I was exploring a large old farm next to where I grew up. Late one evening, somehow I had lost track of the time, and it was already dark, but there was a full moon that night, so it was still quite light. I was between two tobacco barns, but the road that ran through the farm to the main highway. And suddenly, without a warning, I heard a rustle and something large bolted from my right past me in a blur and ran behind the corner of one of the barns. It moved so fast, I didn't know what it was at first. Thought maybe a cow. It was too tall. I moved toward the corner of the barn I had seen it go behind, but before I could get too close, the creature sidestepped into view from behind the barn. It moved and stood upright. It was facing me, and I was paralyzed. It was about 6'4", gray colored, with a large snout, pointed ears. The eyes were piercing. It was locked on to me with a fierce, hard expression. I don't remember seeing any teeth, but I was about 10 feet from it, and it was still somewhat dark, even though the moonlight. It did have a tail, but it did not seem to have an overly large or prominent tail. I think I think it had one arm still against the barn, as if it was leaning on it or something. It seemed to have a blackish outline around the eyes and mouth, but again, there were shadows. Its skin, the eyes, and snout. This was no man, no human, or no animal. It made no sound. It just looked at me. It lasted approximately 5 to 10 seconds before I turned and ran faster than I ever ran in my entire life. I was in my early 20s then, so it was no problem. I didn't stop running for at least a half a mile. I was so scared. It was nothing I had ever seen before. I have not told many people because I thought they would just mostly laugh at me. It has haunted me ever since. I will never forget it as long as I live. Its eyes, how fast it ran past me, and that gray fur, and it just standing there. And why did it run so close past me and not harm me? I know what I saw, and I know that it was a Dogman. My question is, why didn't it chase him? You know? Jimmy! What's up, buddy? Jimmy Haunted. Jimmy Haunted. Shut up your face. Well, I mean, they always don't attack, but I think it would maybe like give them a little tickle or something. I don't know. Something. Imagine if that, as it ran by at Christmas, goosed him right there in the booter. That would not be fun. All right, this one's got some pictures, and I hope that you guys can see them. I didn't print them on gloss paper, so hopefully you will be able to see them when I show them to you. And they're not like, you'll see. It's more like an Urbex kind of experience where they do see a crawler-like creature. I will troll the Christmas Santa tracker. Oh, geez. Speaking of like Christmas, the Elf on the Shelf has competition now. There is an actual, at Spencer's Gift, I saw Snoop on the Stoop. And I was like, oh my God, that is too perfect. Snoop on the Stoop. Recently, my brother Zach had gotten really into nature photography. Last weekend, we decided to go camping so that he could take some photos. We live on the East Coast, so finding places far from the city is pretty hard. Luckily, Zach found what seemed like this perfect place on Google Maps. The map showed a wide open clearing next to a road. It looked like a few-hour drive. We decided to give it a shot. I packed up my gear and our dog Major. My brother loaded the car with his camera equipment and we set off toward the spot. As we got close, I saw that the paved road ended. An old no trespassing sign was hanging on a rusty gate. I could see a long dirt road curve out into the woods behind it. We didn't want to trespass, but we had driven this far. I asked Zach what he thought. He figured that the road and land was probably just property of some lumber company. It sounded about right to me. We noticed that the gate blocked the road wasn't even locked, and that sealed the deal. Zach jumped out, opened it up for the car. After that, we found a spot without too much trouble. It was pretty much perfect, at least at first. We unloaded our firewood, and pretty soon we got a good blaze going in the middle of this clearing. Major was running around and sniffing everything, looking like he was having the time of his life. Major is a pit bull. We had him in our family for almost 5 years. He's a great dog. If a little dumb, I love that dog more than most people. He had helped me through a lot of tough times. Soon it was dark. We had read online that there was thick cloud cover this night. The prediction was spot on. It seemed like the clouds were thick logs just brushing over the tops of the trees. The only light for miles came from our little fire. I started making some dinners wrapped in tinfoil. Zach was holding his camera, taking pictures of an owl that was sitting in the tree in the distance. He dropped his camera, letting it hang from his neck strap. He looked at me and complained about feeling uneasy. I figured he was just getting anxious and didn't want to put much stock into it while I was getting the food together. Suddenly, silence rang through the trees. I realized that may not make much sense, but let me explain. If any of you have ever gone camping in the forest, you know there is almost a constant sound of crickets, frogs, and the occasional owl. Well, it all stopped in a split second. I stood up from my chair and looked into the woods. A distinct clicking sound came echoing into the clearing. Put your thumbnail behind your front tooth and pull it until it makes a hard click. It came like that in bursts. 3 clicks, silence, 5 clicks, silence. It sounded wrong somehow, like nails on a chalkboard or forks screeching across the china plate. I cannot explain it, but the click mixed with the silence made the hairs on my neck stand on end. Major jumped up, stared towards the sound. I could see how tense he was. He began barking madly. Major, always been an incredibly easygoing dog. He was freaking out like nothing I had ever seen before. Before we could do anything, he bolted toward the sound. I jumped up and chased after him to the edge of the clearing, but he was too fast. He reached that tree line and disappeared into the darkness. I stopped at the edge of the clearing, breathing hard. Zach was close behind me, his camera bouncing on the strap. The clicking stopped, and the chirping of crickets ran out again through the woods. I stopped at the edge of that clearing and shouted for Major. I heard no response. Zach stood staring into the woods uneasy. He asked me what I thought that clicking noise was. I told him that I had no idea. I pulled out the flashlight and told him that Major. He looked less than happy, but agreed. I turned back into the woods and started walking in the direction that Major had taken off to. After just a few minutes of walking, the light from that small fire was completely blocked by the trees. The only light source that I could see was from my flashlight. The woods seemed almost too dark. Thick clouds and remote location gave the woods an almost physical blackness. It reminded me of when I went caving a few years back. Zach and I were calling out for Major. After a few minutes, I heard faint whimpering sound. I called for Zach to stop walking, and we listened. Zach nodded and whispered, "Yeah, that's Major up ahead." We pushed on. Up in the distance, I saw a clearing in the trees. In the middle of it, we saw a huge concrete building, decades-old graffiti covering the sides. It looked completely out of place in the middle of the woods. I pointed my flashlight to the ground around us. Neither me nor my brother could see any roads that led up to the building. Zach lifted his camera and took a picture. The flash lit up the clearing like a strike of lightning. Here's that picture. While we stood there, I thought I heard sounds of Major whimpering. They sounded like they were coming from inside the building. I started walking toward the building. Zach called out, "Hang on, man. Let's think about this for a second." I was pissed. I wanted to get my dog, who was scared and alone in this creepy building. I told Zach he was being ridiculous, especially if he was scared of some clicking. He whispered to me, "All I'm saying is be careful, all right? No sense running in and cutting a leg open on a piece of rusty metal." I wish I had the sense to listen to him. We walked toward the building. A heavy metal door hung from the hinges in the front of the building. I walked through that doorway and started calling out for Major. I heard Zach step through the door behind me, and as I made my way deeper into the structure, the floor and the walls, the hallway were all made of that rough concrete. I saw graffiti that must have been decades old covering the walls. The end of the hallway turned to the right. As I made the turn, I saw a pool of something discolored on the ground. The heavy stench of decay hit me like a wave. My flashlight flickered and went out. I stood in the darkness, clicking the button, and nothing happened. New member, thank you for joining. Nothing happened. I figured the batteries had run out. I unscrewed the batteries and put it back on. The flashlight flicked on. The light was faint. It spilled over what was clearly several-day-old deer carcass lying on the ground. Its head was nowhere to be found. Zach started retching and coughing into his sleeve. "Do you think bears live here or something?" he said between coughs. My flashlight died again. The darkness was absolute. The stench filled my nostrils, making it hard to breathe, and I called out for Major again. I heard Zach fiddling with his camera. Here, he moved in front of me. The camera flashed, lighting the hallway for a split second. "It'll help some, but not much," he said. "Maybe we should go back for some lights." Here is picture 2. That's the hallway. I shook my head, even though it was pointless in the dark. Who knows where Major will have run off to by the time we get back. I heard a yelp of fear and pain in the distance. "Just keep taking pictures." We kept walking down the hallway, careful to step around the deer. Every 3 seconds or so, Zach took a picture, lighting the hallway and the rooms on either side as we passed. Some rooms had pools of fluid spilling into the hallway. Zach stopped suddenly, and I ran into his back. "What is it?" He didn't respond, staring at his camera display. "What is it?" he whispered under his breath. This is the third picture he took. Then I heard it. The noise echoed down the hallway, clicking, and it was getting louder. I felt numb. I stared into the blackness, not being able to see anything. Zach took another picture. The light flashed out. I saw it, whatever it was. It almost looked human, but deathly white, pale, and naked. It had unnaturally long arms with claws that extended at least a foot on each finger. I saw something brown all over its chin and chest. It must have been dried blood. It was on all fours staring at us. Pick 4. Something's right in the back there. I shouted for Zach to run. I grabbed his shoulder and we sprinted back down the hallway the way we had come. I saw one more flash from Zach's camera just in time to step into the deer's body. We ran out of the building and into the woods. I don't know how we made it through those woods and back to our fire, but once we did, we didn't even pause. We packed up our things. We jumped in the car and drove out of there. All this had been the other day. I cannot stop thinking about my dog. We left him there with whatever that thing was. Every time I think about it, my hand shakes. Still, I can't stand the thought of Major being out there alone. We are probably going to go back soon. I'm not sure. Hopefully, we will bring some weapons and lights. I hope that's enough. I'd call the police, but what are we going to say? We were trespassing? No, it just has to be me and my brother. Otherwise, we probably would get arrested. No update yet. Sabrina Johnson, thank you for becoming a member. What's wrong with Jess? Oh my goodness. Thank you, Sabrina. It was a good encounter, right? It was good to see the pictures. I enjoyed them. Kelly Johnson, how are you? Mr. Paul, how are you? Motorboat! I would never leave my dog either. Wesley September, I'm not sure. It helps the channel, I think. Arabic! Thank you, brother. 15 new members. 15 new members. Tina Marie, how are you? Yeah. Dude, I wouldn't even, I mean, not that Tigger's going camping with me, but let's say Tigger and me go camping and he runs into an abandoned building. You bet your ass I'm getting my cat out of there. Like, I'm like, let's go. No, it's not free, Wesley. Thank you, Sabrina and Aramek. I appreciate all the love. I mean, if it was Belle or Abby, I would maybe leave them, but I'm getting Tigger. I'm definitely getting Tigger. A jewel, Hannah. A jewel. I'd be like, bye, guys. Kids, it's all right. Tigger, gotta get him. Tobacco. Maybe Aramek, maybe, but he's a very dirty kitty. He doesn't clean himself too well. He's a dirt bag. My cat is a dirt bag. You know what time it is? It's Lizzo time. All right. Yeah, we'll do. Jigger, how are you? Brian Mons isn't here yet, is he? Chelsea Ferguson, how are you? And thank you for becoming a member. Brian Mons not here yet? All right, we'll wait. We'll wait to do the Puckwudgie one for Brian Mons, only because he plays with his Puckwudgie on a daily basis, and it still doesn't grow. He's practically blind, though, I heard. Fire, shut up your face. Yeah, fire. They don't like fire. Orion, how are you? Dude, Orion, didn't you make some fucked up concoction last week? Now you're making mac and cheese with maple syrup? That is filthy. Ew. All right, here we go. I hope that Lizzo's sister is listening to this right now. Here we go. The fluorescent hum of the Last Stop Diner usually provided the soundtrack to Lizzo's reign. The air thick with the scent of stale coffee, burnt grease, and unfulfilled dreams. This was her kingdom. She was Lizzo, the lot lizard queen, the monarch, not by birthright, but by sheer unadulterated force of personality and a reputation that preceded her like a siren's wail across the interstate. Her throne was a cracked vinyl booth near the window, giving her a panoramic view of the desolate truck stop lot, her domain. Beside her, Earl, her current beau, and long-hauled trucker with a heart as big as his gut, methodically dismantled a plate of chicken fried steak. Earl was a gentle giant, a man of few words and even fewer original thoughts, but his loyalty to Lizzo was absolute, forged in the fires of countless truck stop turf wars and the occasional shared bag of Cheetos. Tonight, the rhythm was familiar, comforting. Lizzo, in her sequenced crimson jumpsuit that shimmered like a stoplight, held court, sipping her lukewarm soda and eyeing the passing parade of weary drivers. Then the rhythm shattered, A rumble, deeper than any diesel engine Earl had ever heard, vibrated through the diner's shaky foundations. Heads turned. Outside, a rig glided into the lot, silent as a ghost train. It wasn't just any truck. This Leviathan was sleek, obsidian black with chrome accents that gleamed with an ethereal, almost predatory sheen under the sodium lamps. Logos, no mud splatters, just an intimidating, pristine presence that spoke of places far beyond Route 66. The hush fell over the diner, the clinking of cutlery replaced by the nervous shuffling of feet. Even Lizzo leaned forward, a speculative glint in her eyes. The driver's side door hissed open, a sound more sci-fi than truck stop. A figure emerged slowly, deliberately, as if making an entrance on a cosmic stage. He was massive, easily taller and broader than Earl, clad in a star-spangled white jumpsuit that seemed to glow with an inner light. His pompadour was gravity-defying marvel, jet black and lacquered to perfection. But it was his skin that stole the breath from every lung in the diner. It was an unnatural, vibrant shade of emerald green, as if he had been dipped in alien chlorophyll. This was Elvis Presley, or at least a very large, very green, very unsettling approximation of him. He strode towards Lizzo's booth, his hips swaying with an unnerving, almost fluid grace. His smile was dazzling, the flash of perfect teeth against that green flesh. Every eye in the diner followed his every move, a collective tension built with each step. He stopped directly at the table, casting a long green shadow over Lizzo and suddenly, very still Earl. His voice, when it came, was like a baritone rumble, surprisingly smooth, rich, with a familiar cadence, yet tingled with an otherworldly echo. Well, howdy, mama. Lizzo, never one to be flustered, raised an eyebrow, a challenge in her gaze. Mama, honey, you got the wrong number, the wrong planet, if that skin is any indication. Green Elvis chuckled, a sound like gravel rolling over silk. Fair enough, darling. But my heart's been lonesome tonight, and I'm looking for a little bit of love, little tenderness. His vibrant eyes swept over Lizzo, lingering only briefly before settling with unmistakable intent on Earl. But not from you, dear heart. You're a queen, no doubt, but my taste runs a little different. Earl, halfway through stuffing a tater tot in his mouth, froze. The tater tot slipped from his grasp, rolled unheeded across the table, his brow furrowed in confusion. Then a dawning comprehension that slowly bloomed into a wide-eyed terror. Green Elvis leaned in, his green face mere inches from Earl's startled one. His voice dropped to a purr, still amplified enough for the entire diner to hear. Howdy, big man. $20 is $20. What do you say? He winked a slow, deliberate blink of the impossibly green eyelid. A collective gasp rippled through the diner. Earl squeaked, a sound like a startled mouse caught in a steel trap. But before he could even process the words, before he could even form a coherent thought behind Green Elvis wants my booty, Lizzo exploded. $20, Lizzo roared, her crimson jumpsuit seeming to swell with indignation. $20 for my man, you green-skinned disco dancing space reject? Nobody propositions Earl but me. With a battle cry that shook the rafters, Lizzo launched herself across that booth. Chairs shrieked, tables toppled, sending plates and grease-stained food skittering across the floor. This was not just a fight. This was a force of nature meeting an unholy anomaly. Lizzo, a whirlwind of sequenced fury, unleashed a fury of blows. Her open palm met Green Elvis's chest with a resounding thwack, the sound like a watermelon hitting concrete. He stumbled back, more surprised than hurt, a strangely delighted grin still plastered on his face. Whoa there, mama. Easy does it, he drawled, dodging a follow-up punch with agility that defied his massive frame and peculiar hue. He moved with a disturbing, almost rubbery grace. His long green limbs bended and twisted in ways that looked subtly wrong. Lizzo was relentless. She grabbed a diner stool and swung it like a gladiatrix. It connected with a dull clang against Elvis's shoulder, leaving no mark, but causing him to grunt. A jumpsuit, it's vintage. He was not really fighting back, more deflecting and performing bizarrely elegant, evasive maneuvers, almost enjoying the brawl. He seemed less a threat and more of an unholy green-skin punching bag with a sense of style. Vintage my ass, Lizzo screamed, grabbing the ketchup bottle and squirting a crimson stream at his pristine white outfit. This is disrespect. The diner patrons were a mix of horrified and utterly enthralled. Some cowered, others cheered. Earl initially shrinked into his seat, now watched with a strange mixture of terror and pride as his queen valiantly defended his honor and his backside. Lizzo, fueled by a righteous indignation, delivered a spinning roundhouse kick that connected squarely with Elvis's ample ass. He let out an oof and finally lost his footing. Tumbling backward over a stack of menus, landing with a surprising bounce, he lay there for a moment, chest heaving, a smear of ketchup now adorned on his cheek, but still grinning. All right, he conceded, pushing himself up. Slowly, his pompadour still miraculously intact. A lady's got to defend her territory, I respect that. He dusted off his jumpsuit, though the ketchup stain remained. He looked at Lizzo, a glint of genuine admiration in his green eyes. Still, he said, pulling a crisp, unfamiliar $20 bill from his pocket. A deal's a deal, ain't it, big man? He held it out to Earl, who was still trying to look anywhere but at that money. Lizzo's chest heaved, hair slightly askew, but every inch the victor. Rounded on Earl, her gaze was like a laser beam, promising swift and brutal retaliation if he dared to fire. Earl, she said, her voice a dangerous growl. Earl gulped. He looked at that $20 bill, then at Lizzo, then at the still grinning green Elvis. He knew his place. With a sigh, he spoke of profound resignation and a hint of bewildered curiosity. He gingerly took the bill. Green Elvis clapped his hands together, a triumphant sparkle in his green eyes. Excellent, a man of his words, he nodded respectfully to Lizzo. Pleasure doing business, Queen. My apologies for the territorial misunderstanding. With another bizarre wiggle of his hips, he turned and gestured for Earl to follow. Lizzo stood, her hands on her hips, watching as her boy toy, looking profoundly uncomfortable, stumbled out of the diner with Green Elvis. The mysterious tractor-trailer door hissed open again. The waiting game was agonizing. The diner slowly started to buzz with a hushed conversation, but everyone kept an eye on Lizzo, who sat back in her ruined booth, a formidable statue of victory. Finally, the sleek black rig rumbled to life, its engine a silent thrum that vibrated more than resonated. It glided out of the lot and disappeared into the night, as mysteriously as it had arrived, leaving behind only a lingering scent of ozone and undeniable truth of what had just happened. A few minutes later, Earl shuffled back into the diner. He looked disheveled, his trucker hat askew. He walked with a distinctive, cautious gait. His face was a mixture of bewilderment and a mild trauma with a strange, almost serene satisfaction. He did not say a word. He just hobbled over to Lizzo's booth, sat down with an audible wince, and silently held up the $20 bill. Lizzo snatched it from his hand, examining the crisp, alien-looking currency before tucking it securely in her ample bra. She gave Earl a look of a long assessing look, then a triumphant smirk. Good boy, she purred, patting his head. Earl, for his part, just winced again, rubbing his backside, and let out a long, shuddering breath. He had a sore booty hole, a fresh $20 bill, and a story he'd probably never tell, But tonight he knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he was Lizzo's man. And even a green intergalactic Elvis couldn't change that. And sometimes a little extra cash made even the strangest of nights a little bit easier to endure. The last stop returned to its usual hum, but it would never quite be the same. Turbo Christ! Thank you, Randy Man. I knew you guys would like that. $20 is $20. Be remembered now. Your mom's great. Oh, Smitty, thank you so much. Much love. Another great. Poor Earl. I know. Poor Earl. Thank you, Aramic. I think that was one of my better ones. I'll have to take a bow. I was like, I got to do the $20 is $20, and especially with the green Elvis. Smitty, thank you again, my friend. If you want, Hannah Banana. Danny, how are you, my friend? I'm glad your mom liked that one. Dude, my dad loves it. I think my mom likes the Lizzo stories better than my dad. I am doing well, Zilla. I am doing well. How about yourself, brother? Lil Lucy or Lil Lily. I swear to God, Lily looks just like my cousin's dog, Lucy. I don't know. I'll have to check on Janie real quick. Hang on. I don't want to bother her, though, because she might be sick. You know what I mean? But I do have to check and see if she made any kind of statement. Any kind of statement. Was my Elvis impersonation kind of good? My talk? Nothing from Janie. Janie. Hey, are you okay? We are all a little worried. There. Jeff, what do you call a on fire? I don't know, Amy Grattan. Don't leave me hanging, though. Stay spacey. Doing some concrete work. Oh, geez, I'm crow. I was just talking about concrete work today, actually. So, you guys who have memberships, how much does it cost and what did you get? I honestly don't know, Wesley. It's just a way of supporting the channel. I don't know. I think it's $3.99 or $2.99. You get little logos and stuff, and I do little dances for you later at night. No, just kidding. An LGBTQ. Oh shit! That is good, Amy. That is very good. Edith, I tried. I really tried with the Elvis. Back in the early 2000s, I was living in Mesa, Arizona. Late one night, I got into a big fight with my girlfriend at the time, so I decided to take a drive and blow off some steam. I drove out east near Salt River and was on the very dark, winding single-lane road. As I was coming around a corner, I saw a large animal figure just standing in the middle of the road. I hit the brakes, and as I approached slowly, I could tell that it was a massive black dog. I stopped about 10 feet in front of it. It just stood there staring at me. It held my eye contact for maybe 15 seconds before turning and very slowly walking across the road and out of sight. To this day, I have never had a dog or any other animal look directly into my eyes like that and hold its gaze like this creature did. It gives me chills every time I think about it. Jimmy, thank you very much. I'm not a Mason, Jim. I just play one on TV, damn it. Thank you, Jimmy. I will give it to Lizzo. I agree, Stace. It's November around 9 p.m. on a dual carriageway A38 road passing south of Ivy Bridge, a town at the southern point of Dartmoor in the southwest UK. At a turnoff junction, there is a footbridge going across the road from a housing estate on the north side of the woodland. On the south side, there is no traffic, so I am driving at 55 to save petrol and notice what looks like a large white dog running very fast onto the footbridge. As it comes to the crest of the bridge, it's directly in front of me, 20 to 30 meters ahead of me, and my headlights are on full beam. As it runs, its head bobs up and down and just levels with the handrail of the bridge. It's about 1.4 meters tall and must have been 3.5 meters from nose to tail. Horizontal behind it, a sleek, like pure white greyhound the size of a pony. The eye on the side, I can see its black slit, narrowed and focused forward, but I can't see ears and can't see a nose or mouth. I can't see feet either. Did Jane text back? No. I can't see feet either. The legs don't appear to be joined with the knee and ankle, but move fluidly like running blades worn by a paraplegic sprinter, and look like they come with smooth points, more like tentacles than legs. It looks like a semi-abstracted drawing of an animal, all smooth aerodynamic curves similar to a depiction of a cave painting or a Greek vase. It clears the bridge 40 to 50 meters over some embankments, dual carriageways, hard shoulders in 2 to 3 seconds. It had to have been going 30 to 35 miles an hour. The simplest explanation is that it was large, white dog going on an evening run. A racing greyhound can reach 45 miles an hour, with its features distorted in a reflected glare of the headlights. But I have grown up with dogs. My aunt had a huge greyhound, a meter tall. We have a photo of my mom standing or straddling and pretending to ride this creature. It was half as big as this thing was. There are plenty of sightings of big cats in the moors of Devon, but don't know if anyone has seen anything like this on Ivy Bridge, a gigantic pony-sized white whippet. I don't know, Aramik. A weird critter. Definitely, I have to agree. I would say maybe like a phantom creature or phantom figure. I think my daughter just left. Yeah, I gotta check. Bell. Did you just leave? Are you going door dashing? If you are, be careful. Love you. Pony-sized whippet. That's huge. I don't know. I don't like Dogman movies. I don't like cryptid movies because I think they take away from the real whole thing. But a lot of people do like dog soldiers. I've never seen a greyhound Papa OAM as big as a pony though, so it's not a greyhound. But she can't do Instacart. She's not old enough yet, unfortunately. Because I've heard that it pays better too. I heard that it pays like pretty good. Hang on, I got to take my hoodie off. Ugh. There we go. Why are priests called father? Because calling. Oh my God, Aramik. Hang on a second. I gotta. All right, Bell didn't text me back. I gotta.
Hello?
Hey, are you door dashing? You didn't answer my text.
Oh yeah, why?
Okay, love you. I just wanted to know where you went. I'm on my live. Love you.
Love you.
Bye. Be careful. After becoming a member of your podcast, that one just resonates at a very real level. Well, I didn't mean it in a bad way. I don't watch cryptid things because I believe that. So my whole view is on movies like that. Like I like The Descent. I like The Descent better than I like The Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers is a good movie. But I think like movies like fucking Antlers or whatever, it gives a whole kind of fake skew of reality. Like these things are real, and Hollywood and Reddit create a whole kind of, and creepypastas create a whole kind of fake narrative on these things that really fucks people's brains up, I think, because like some people truly believe that a Wendigo looks like a fucking walking deer when it does not. It's not depicted. Native Americans don't depict a Wendigo like that. Like on the reservation where my family lives up north, there's a beautiful painting. I have to go there and take a picture of it to show you guys. But it's a depiction of a Wendigo after a man had gotten lost in the woods with his father. And he had killed his father and ate his father when they were snowed in a cave. And he turned into a mist. And then from the mist, he turned into a emaciated human. And then from that, he turned into a large, like furry white creature with a tail. Just a cool, interesting kind of thing. Grant, how are you? Jeepers Creepers? I don't know. I like that. Stacy, I talked about that. The 911 call isn't real. People are making videos on it. And 911 calls, I made a comment on this actually on something the other day on like a guy that has 1 million subscribers that was talking about it. Like he's like swinging on the balls of cryptid channels when he doesn't do cryptids. You can't find that 911 call. It's public access. You have public access to get that call. You can't find it. It doesn't exist. It's an AI created call. The online call or OnStar call is real. You can actually access that online and find it. But you can't. I've searched. I've deep dived. I called a buddy of mine who works with the state police in South Carolina, and I said, "Can you find this? Can you?" It's AI. He goes, "I don't think that's real." And he looked and kept looking, and we can't find it. So it's not real. Truth driven. I don't think so. A map. I've been a channel for 8 years, so if I ever did that, there would be there would be a that's the Joy. That's the museum I'm talking about. There'd be literally a map would be just filled. I have a map downstairs in my other studio where there is my research and looking into all of the strange anomalies going on in New Mexico and Colorado. But yeah. Oh, so I wanted to share this with you guys because I found this interesting. So the James Caspel upload that I did the other day, and I remember someone had commented, they were like, "Is this the James Caspel that has the shady past?" And I'm like, "Yeah, isn't it interesting that he has a shady past? I mean, did you expect it not to be? You know, when you want to discredit somebody, you ruin. When you want to discredit somebody, you either assassinate them or you publicly assassinate their character. And that's what they did to James Caspel. Now, in that information that I shared, Caspel had shared something about the Luciferian agenda and the Luciferian agenda, shadow government being tied into the UN, right? Funny thing happened the other day. Democratic mayor, a shitty fucking mayor. He's a mayor. He's like a piece of fucking gum on somebody's shoe politically. Mayor Brandon Johnston from Chicago, Chi-Town, appeals to the UN to intervene in American policy. You want to tell me that the shadow governments don't exist? I mean, how fucking weird is that? Does anybody not think that's weird? So, like, pretty much literally just said, hey, shadow government, Luciferian agenda tied into the UN. Guess what? We need help. We need help in America. But when America could kick the living shit out of the UN completely, we need to just destroy the United Nations. But like, that's neither here nor there. That's why I believe truthfully, we need to just pull away from everything and everybody and just be like, all right, but that can never happen because we kind of essentially, America is the backbone of that shadow government, that 13 family Illuminati, which is very scary, very, very scary. It does. It's a Gorillaz t-shirt though. It's a Gorillaz t-shirt. I just think it's outrageous that, you know, like if I were in the government or like the shadow government, I would be so pissed. Like if, like, you know what I mean? Like I'd be like, who the fuck is this guy think he is appealing to the UN? Like we need to silence him now. You know what I mean? Like what the shit? It's just, it doesn't make sense. It does. No, I agree, Aramik. It does. It is because Damon Albarn is a huge fan of the movie, and that's why they did the depiction of that. It's been their thing since they started back in '99. It's not your bad, brother. It is Quasar. It is traitorous. I agree completely. I agree. And I don't like talking politics, but this is not political. This is only proof that the Luciferian agenda exists. And like the tools of the agenda are people that like literally are disposable. Like, do you honestly like 13 families. The Bilderbergs, do you really think the Bilderbergs care about Brandon Johnson? They're just like, look at him. We'll have him speak out. He'll just, like, it's so fucking weird. You can actually, there's an app, George, that you can use Chat GPT and you can use a couple of other things to figure out AI. Also, if you look at it closely, you can, if you take a photo of one of the videos, you can like literally search, you can do a search on it and find it. Like when Abby, remember that one picture that it was a Dogman in the woods with the tree, and it was like standing in the woods, and people were like, "Oh my God, it's the greatest picture ever of the Dogman." It was like a greenish gray, and my daughter Ab saw it. She ends up like Google searching that and finds out it's from some werewolf, an adult werewolf game. It's so weird. Libra Poet, how are you, dear? There is my girl, Libra Poet. I am doing well. My Halloween was wonderful. I went and saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Thank you. It was probably the greatest. It was really a good version of it. I've seen it since I was a little kid. I got introduced to it when I was 12. And Aramaic! And they took a lot of liberties with it. That's what I enjoyed about it. I don't know. It was good. It was good. I hope yours was good, Libra. I missed you on my birthday. I missed you on my birthday. Just kidding. I did though. No, it was really cool. I liked how they did it. It was really funny. I liked how they had it was interactive. I like it when it's interactive. So thanks, Libra. Oh, my face is getting fucking red already. All right. I'm a 13-year-old male, and I recently went on my second ever sleepover on Halloween to celebrate both Halloween and my mate's birthday. It started off great. Me and my friends got some candy. Birthday guy blew out the candles, but we got yelled at by an old bald man yelling something about his new car. We weren't even near it. Whatever. At night, around 1:30 a.m., maybe later, in my friend's living room, we are all on our phones. My friend, let's call him Mattis, isn't the type to get scared, but suddenly says he sees a gray head above the bushes through the glass door. It takes me multiple minutes for me to see it. Just the tip of the head, oh my God. But definitely the head. Nobody else sees it. Another guy, let's call him Rock, he was on his phone blanket over his body when he looks out the window and says, "Yo, I see that shit." He also is not the type to joke about scary stuff. Then at some point, Matthew stated, was it a joke? But he definitely sees it. I can't prove it, but it was definitely there. About 15 minutes, it ended sometime around 3 a.m. Nobody else said they saw it, just us three. I couldn't snap a photo due to my cheap phone, weak camera, barely being able to see the bushes behind the glass door, much less the tip of this creature's head. It slowly lowered, and I never saw it again. Everything before and after was normal as 8 people having a sleepover. Door was locked, dog cage was open. My friend had asthma and did have a panic attack after 3 o'clock after seeing this. About half hour after the head left, we went out and looked in the garden maybe a little later, 4 or 5:30. The grass was wet. It was lightning. It was light raining too, if that means anything. Crawler in England. Crawler in England. Dude, why did he have to write it like that? Why did he have to write it like that? Just the tip. Why, buddy? Why? Oh my God. Oh. What's up, James? How are you? What's the difference between oh. Yes, you did, Libra. Yes, you did. Oh. When complained to me about how the vacuum cleaner won't suck anymore, I looked at her and said, yeah, frustrating, isn't it? Jesus Christ. Oh, here we go. I don't think Brian Mons is coming in. Thomas, how are you from Ireland? I don't think Brian Mons is coming in today. So we'll just do the Puckwudgies. The Puckwudgies make a return. Remember, last time the Puckwudgies were here, they were hot pink. Do you remember that? I hope you do. Danielle, I'm sorry. Danny Marie. How long of a drive is it to where you go hiking from your place? About 40 minutes. About 40 minutes, Hercules. I live right in the foothills of the Adirondacks. And it's like, I don't know. I've always gone up there, even before he disappeared. So it was actually where I first caught my first fish in Brant Lake, to be honest with you. First one I caught alive in a while. Oh, I'm glad you're here with us, Danny. I am in bear country. DB Mac, what's up, brother? All right, here it is. Second Lizzo story. The Greasy Spoon Oasis truck stop smelled, as it always did, of diesel exhaust, stale coffee, and a faint, enduring sulfurous aroma of the adjacent Massachusetts swamp. But tonight, the air carried something new. The pungent, musky smell of vengeful, highly motivated folklore. Lizzo, the undisputed lot lizard queen, presided over her domain from her usual perch, a cracked vinyl stool outside of the restrooms. She was a woman built like a refrigerator and upholstered in a leopard print, wielding a rusty aluminum baseball bat named Fidelity. Her court, Brandy, the chain-smoking strategist, and Tiffany, the gentle giant, known primarily for her ability to change a flat tire in under 3 minutes, stood guard. Lizzo was melancholy. She missed Earl. Earl, her precious, dim-witted boy toy, had been stolen exactly 3 weeks ago during the great battle of the truck stop asphalt. The clash that had seen Lizzo and her subjects fend off the first invasion of the Puckwudgies. The Puckwudgies, for all of their hot pink, furry, and unexpected tactical prowess, had been routed. But even in their retreat, they had a truly bizarre act of love at first sight and captured Earl. He was so sweet, Brandy, Lizzo sighed, polishing Fidelity. He didn't even know how to use the remote. Now he's just a damn swamp king. Brandy puffed thoughtfully on a menthol. Well, at least he's finally getting a little sun. A sudden high-pitched warble split the night, echoing off a parked 18-wheeler. It was a sound somewhere between the startled marmot and a tea kettle reaching maximum pressure. Lock down, Lizzo roared. From the dark, brackish muck of the swamp line came the invaders, 3 feet tall, covered in electric hot pink fur that defied all logic of camouflage, and moving With a terrifying speed of oversized rodents, the Puckwudgies streamed into the pavement. And they were accessorized. Every single creature was brandishing their signature equipment, 12-inch purple rubber donkey wieners. These appendages, which seemed to function as multi-purpose tools ranging from bludgeoning weapons to surprisingly effective grappling hooks, were currently being waved menacingly above their fuzzy pink heads. "They're wearing crowns," Tiffany said, pointing a massive finger. Indeed, atop of the head of the lead Puckwudgie sat a haphazard crown crudely fashioned from a discarded bottle cap and electrical tape. Perched slightly precociously beneath it was a familiar vacant face of Earl. He looked good, tan, muscular, surprisingly clean considering his abode. He wore a loincloth made of Spanish moss and what appeared to be Lizzo's favorite silk nightie. "My queen, my beloved queen, Lizzo," Earl shouted, his voice hoarse from royal decreeing. "We have come on behalf of the Puckwudgie Nation. We demand restitution for the last battle. We demand it. We want love and more love." Puckwudgies behind him chanted, "Love, revenge, sticky things." Lizzo's eyes narrowed. The love was a distraction. The restitution was irrelevant. Her problem was Earl's silk night. "Put some damn pants and give me back my lingerie," Lizzo yelled. Earl's face crumbled into pain. "I can't. It's royal standard. And Lizzo, listen, life is incredible here. They make little arrows out of toothpicks and poison ivy. They let me name the tadpoles. Plus, we have access to unlimited mud pies." This was the last straw. The truck stop was her kingdom, and Lizzo didn't share her subordinates or her fashion. "Charge!" Lizzo screamed, swinging fidelity through the air. And the battle raged. It was less a war and more organized, chaotic harassment. The Puckwudgies were too fast and hit squarely, darting between the wheels of the big rigs and launching tiny poisonous arrows made of bamboo skewers dipped in swamp toxins. Brandy and Tiffany deployed defensive tactics, using overturned plastic garbage cans as shields. The purple rubber donkey wieners proved incredibly distracting. Puckwudgies used them to trip the larger women, and on one occasion, a particularly brazen Puckwudgie managed to hook the appendage around Tiffany's ankle and drag her 2 feet across the asphalt before being dislodged by a well-aimed box of expired donuts. But the Puckwudgies, despite their bizarre equipment, were not here to kill. They were here to gloat and invite. Earl, sitting safely on the shoulders of his loyal subjects, constantly beckoned Lizzo toward the swamp. "Come, Lizzo! Our love can rule the marsh." Lizzo dodged the flurry of arrows and struck the nearby light pole, denting it severely. "I don't do marsh, Earl. I get swamp rash." Realizing that she couldn't capture Earl on her turf, Lizzo made a snap decision. She needed the home field advantage of the Puckwudgie's deepest fear, hygiene. "Retreat," Lizzo announced. "But not to the truck stop. We're going into the swamp." Brandy and Tiffany looked horrified. "Queen, no, the smell," Brandy protested. "If they want to play dirty, we'll play dirtier," Lizzo growled, marching toward the thick line of cypress trees. "The only thing these pink freaks hate more than sunlight is women who isn't afraid to use industrial strength bug spray." The swamp swallowed them instantly. The air went into stale exhaust to thick biological rot. The mud was a consistency of old gravy, and the darkness of absolute, save the sickly fluorescent glow of the Puckwudgie's eyes lurking in the foliage. Lizzo, armed with fidelity and a massive can of maximum deep mosquito repellent, led the way. Brandy carried a shovel. Tiffany carried a slightly terrified possum that she had accidentally scooped up. The Puckwudgies treated the journey like a bizarre, terrifyingly themed park ride. They were everywhere, hissing from the trees, dropping clumps of moss onto Lizzo's head, and attempting to trip them using their purple purple rubber donkey wieners stretched taut across the path like fleshy tripwires. They're mocking us, Queen, Brandy hissed, swatting a cloud of gnats. I know, Lizzo said, her patience thinning. The mud was clinging to her boots like jealous ex-lover. They think their pink fur makes them superior. What they don't realize is the pink is terrible for blending in. Suddenly, the path opened into a dimly lit clearing. It was the Pukwudgie capital. The focal point was enormous, partially submerged stump draped in plastic holiday lights stolen from a nearby trailer park. On top of the stump, sitting on a throne made of rusty car parts, was Earl. He looked pleased with himself. A large Pukwudgie retainer, recognizable by its especially glossy purple appendage, fanned him with a dead palmetto frond. Welcome, mortals, Earl announced regally. Pukwudgie protocol demands a challenge if you wish to reclaim your former subject. I shall grant you 3 tasks, or you must leave me and join our beautiful sticky fold. Lizzo scoffed. I didn't wade through the swamp full of biting things and bad decisions for a riddle contest, Earl. I'm taking your ass home. Unacceptable, Earl cried. First challenge. You must retrieve a sacred gummy bear from Great Marsh Wisdom from the deepest pool without disturbing the giant singing slug. Lizzo looked at the murky. The idea of reaching into it made her skin crawl. Tiffany stepped forward, her gentle face suddenly grim. I'm not doing it, Earl, but I will fight your biggest Pukwudgie. The Pukwudgie court erupted in chittering glee. Their biggest warrior, a peculiarly wide one whose purple appendage looked suspiciously worn down, accepted the challenge. The fight was fast, brutal, and absurd. The Pukwudgie was quick, utilizing its rubber tool like a flail, but Tiffany was a solid force. She blocked that rubber implement with the shovel, then calmly leaned down and scooped the tiny creature up with one massive hand. Bad Pukwudgie, she said softly, then gently placed the shrieking creature on a high branch. That doesn't count, Earl wailed. That was non-lethal application of force. Lizzo had enough of the theatrics. She raised Fidelity, pointing it directly at Earl's throne. Listen here, King Earl, of the sticky stuff. Lizzo's voice dropped to a terrifying octave. I know why you're here. It's not the mud. It's not the gummy bears. It's the attention. They give you a crown. They fan you. They think you're important. Earl's pink entourage grew restless, launching a few warning arrows into the moss. You're right, Lizzo. I'm important here. I'm needed. I'm loved. Earl's voice cracked with desperate sincerity. Lizzo took a step forward, splashing swamp water into the faces of the nearest Pukwudgies, who recoiled in disgust. You think they love you? Lizzo gestured to the surrounding pink horde. They keep you because you're shiny and you fit the nightgown. They don't know how to change oil in your Ford Ranger, do they? Earl looked stricken. Well, no. Do they know that you like cheese puffs crunched up and sprinkled on top of your microwave macaroni? That's highly nuanced information, Lizzo. Do they know that your hemorrhoids act up when the humidity hits 80%? Earl slid off the car part throne, his composure shattered. They just give me leeches. Lizzo delivered the final crashing blow, aiming it squarely at the Pukwudgies. And do they know that you constantly scrub the swamp muck off your ridiculous purple thing, or your rubber will start to degrade and crack? I spent 3 hours cleaning mine last week. The entire gathering of the Pukwudgies went stock still. Their pink faces turned slightly less pink with horror. Lizzo had revealed the Pukwudgies' greatest secret: the constant maintenance required for their signature rubber accessories to remain pliable and clean. The Pukwudgies, with the glossy appendage, dropped its palmetto frond and emitted a sound of pure agony. In the ensuing chaos, with Puckwudgies distracted by a collective realization of their own unending toil, Earl made his decision. He ripped the silk nightgown and the bottle-capped crown off his body. Lizzo, save me from the swamp maintenance! He dove off the stump, splashing toward Lizzo. She grabbed his arm, pulling him out of the muck and shoving him behind her. The Puckwudgies, realizing their king was fleeing, suddenly ceased their moaning and became enraged. They began launching the full arsenal. Their tiny arrows peppered the air, and their purple appendages swung wildly. Retreat, Lizzo yelled, blasting a cloud of DEET directly into the face of the aggressive Puckwudgies, sending the creatures tumbling backward in agony. As they fled the Puckwudgie capital, the creatures pursued them, but their speed was hampered by the frantic attempts to examine their purple rubber tools for signs of damage or cracking. Lizzo, Earl, Brandy, and Tiffany burst out of the swamp and onto the blessed oil-stained asphalt of the Greasy Spoon Oasis just as dawn broke. Earl, shivered and covered in mud, clung to Lizzo. I'm happy to be back, Lizzo, he mumbled. He mumbled. The purple things were fun for a week, but their culture is too focused on sustainable resources. I missed fast food. Lizzo looked back at the swamp line. The hot pink silhouettes of the Puckwudgies were visible. Their screeches of fury slowly faded into the sound of traffic. They had lost their king again. But their bizarre quest for love and revenge had fundamentally altered the truck stop's ecosystem. Lizzo sighed, tossing Fidelity back into the pickup truck. All right, Earl, she said, pulling him toward the warmth of the coffee machine. But we're burning that Spanish moth loincloth. And Lizzo's first task for you is to go buy industrial strength rubber conditioner. We have to be ready for next time. Because Lizzo knew the Puckwudgies were not done. They were never done. They were scary, ridiculous, and annoyingly persistent, and soon they would need a new king. And the swamp always had a vacancy. Until then, the Greasy Spoon Oasis would simply smell slightly more of DEET, sulfur, and faint, sweet scent of purple rubber. That was a good one. I think the first one was better, though. What's up, Neutrino? How are you, my friend? What do you call a nun, a wheelchair, and Virgin Mobile? Oh, what do you call a nun in a wheelchair? Oh, boy. Claire Harris, how are you? Gotta get another soda. Well, thank you, Stephanie. My mom has found her sixth Earl. Is there a Dogman in Ireland? I don't know. Dogman in Ireland? If there's Dogman in the UK, so I'm assuming maybe in Ireland. I know in Scotland, I've had a couple different subscribers from Scotland. Share Dogman experiences. So in Ireland, I'd imagine so, yes. The purple rubber donkey wieners it's got to be the best accessory ever, you know? You can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. All right. Here we go. I think it's time. Is it time to do a little bit of Kenny G, the Jewish Kenny G? The shofar will come out. DB Mac, I think this one's for you. Yes, Libra. What do you need, my dear? $20 is $20. Let me think of a good song. Ooh, it stinks. There you go, DB Mac. That was for you. I gotta spray some cleaner into that fucking thing. Fuck, that stinks. Is Kenny G Jewish? I don't know. But I know he can't play a shofar like me. My cue above. Mirror, 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 mirror. Can't find it. Jeff is hilarious. I finally feel complete. Thank you, Libra. Show us your shirt. It's just a Gorillas t-shirt. It's from their new it's from their latest tour that they did in the UK. I really wish I was in the United Kingdom because I would go hang out with Libra and then I would freaking go and see the Gorillas. Who the fuck is Kenny G? Kenny G is that guy that plays the saxophone and does those like weird love songs. He's a dirty, dirty birdie. He gets booty calls by playing the horn. Kenny G. No, that was Blink 182. Just be glad that you never heard of him because he's just fucking Kenny G. I think he's got a mullet. Does he have a mullet? I think Kenny G has a mullet. Kenny G was not as good as the dude that played I Still Believe on the Lost Boys. Remember that dude where he's fucking jacked and he played the saxophone and he still believe. Let me see. Hang on a second. Good Will Hunting. Oh, I do miss Robin Williams too. I heard someone said there's a conspiracy that said he's still alive. Still haven't got it. Sent another email. Hope. You know what, Chris? If you don't get it, just get your money back because they have not paid me in like a year. My merch company owes me like fucking hundreds of dollars and they've never paid me. Hang on a second. I'm going to play that song right now. Hang on. Here we go. Lost Boys song, I Still Believe. Here it is. All right. Let's see if we can do it. I sound like a fucking horny goat. Dude, that song is great. We got to hear it really quick. There we go. That's enough 80s cock rock. My cat, I think Tigger just probably had a fucking stroke out there. Dude, Marilyn Manson does the best Cry Little Sister rendition. I don't care. The original is great, but Marilyn Manson's is way better. Way better. I had some scary stories from Nana. My lips taste gross after blowing on that shofar. That shofar smells like an asshole. It really does. It's so gross. A little about me. My family's from West Virginia, but I was born in Germany because my dad moved there. So I grew up split between Germany and West Virginia, spending time with my grandpa, grandma. What are you, J.D. Vance? Spending time with my grandma and grandpa and the rest of my family, kind of like a 50-50 mix. That's why I'm pretty familiar with the Appalachian stories from those woods. So my grandpa always had a certain respect for the darkness. One night, I was trying to bring their old dog Teddy inside. It was probably around 7 p.m., just when it's starting to get dark. A normal late summer evening, but he didn't want me going outside then. He'd always say after 6 p.m., we don't leave the house alone. And once it gets dark, we don't leave at all. I used to think he just said that because there were animals out there or something. Later, I asked him why we couldn't go outside, and my grandma said, "You don't talk about that or it brings bad luck." Grandpa just said there were folks around here who went out and never came back. But when I asked why, he changed the subject. It wasn't until I got a little older and started helping with hunting and wood cutting, and the woods became more a part of my everyday life, that he started opening up a little more. He told me the danger wasn't the woods themselves, but the things, he always called them the things, that watch you and want you to stay. Most of them won't harm you, but they make sure you get lost. Back then, I thought it was hard to believe. Well, mostly hard to believe. And I still do, to some extent. But I figured if an 80-year-old man is saying this stuff, it can't be made up, right? A few months later, I asked again, since he's always shut me down before, and he said, "Boy, sometimes it's better not knowing anything. But you want to know, don't you?" And that's when he started telling me a few of his stories. He mentioned there was a family in the 20s that had immigrated from Belgium and did not follow the rules. He said they'd go out at night unprotected just by themselves, and some of them didn't come back. He told me a bunch of stories about people who went out into the woods and never returned. He also said you should never whistle in the woods. If you do, everything goes quiet. No animal sounds, nothing. When that happens, you got yourself a problem. You'll feel watched, get the chills, and you'll start thinking there's something behind every tree. He said when you whistle, you wake things up that are in the woods that should be sleeping. And if they hear it, they'll wait for you. Another rule, he said, was no music, no playing music, or even listening to it while working or hunting. Not because of the animals or anything, but the forest has its own rules. Break those and you won't make it back home easy. He said too much artificial noise, whether it's whistling, music, chainsaws, or motors, can invite these things to come. And they get mad, they'll stalk you, and the noise just makes them angrier. Another experience or story, there's an old abandoned cabin that people avoid. Cabins are empty, but something waits there. If you walk by, you'll start hearing things. Sometimes footsteps, sometimes a whisper, but you won't see nothing. He said that's when you walk into a trap because the woods want something from you. I'm not entirely sure what makes these things. Ironically, he always says Hollywood monsters like Bigfoot are made up nonsense, but his stories, he stands by them. The reason I believe them a little bit is because sometimes you'll find footprints in the backyard, especially at our woodcutting site, and these wooden symbols like W's in the woods. I've only seen them once, and then never again. Maybe Grandpa set him up or something. But I gotta admit, I do have a mix of respect and fear. I'm not fully convinced. In Germany, they just laugh at stories like this. My grandma, she was quarter native, but she knew so many stories from the natives. This is his grandma, more of the grandma stories, grandma and grandpa. You'd almost think she was more than that. It was like one of those things she'd tell over and over when we sat in the kitchen making us tea. Like she didn't want to talk about it, but somehow she just had to. Once she told me about this old story, one that her grandmother had passed down to her. It was about a woman who lived in the mountains of West Virginia, far from the settlements. Now, the legend says she was a woman of the woods, like they call her, and she could speak to animals. They said she was highly respected by the natives, but one day she disappeared. Folks from the villages said she went off with the wolves into the mountains and never came back. One night, my grandma said, you could hear the wolves howling when the full moon is at its highest, but it wasn't just regular howling. It was like singing, like the wolves were talking to the woman who'd never fully left. And from that night on, she said, strange things started happening. Nobody would go into the woods after dark because that woman roamed with the wolves, and sometimes she would take souls of the wanderers. But she'd also help wanderers, Grandma said. The wolves weren't real wolves, but some kind of guardians of the woods, making sure the contract between man and nature wasn't broken. And whoever broke that contract, loud sounds like whistling and music and chainsaws, etc., well, they'd fall victim to the forest wanderer, whatever that was. Then she'd always say, boy, you're lucky. You're over there in Germany. The woods here, they're peaceful, but in the Appalachians, they'll change a man. Story 2. Now, as for my grandpa, the man had so many stories, it's hard for me to tell which ones he'd lived through and which ones he had heard from others. But the one he always told over and over when he'd sit on the porch at night, just about the riders of the fog. He said the fog came in with the rider's shape that weren't really there, but you could hear them and feel their cold breath. The riders, they looked like people, but they weren't quite, more like ghosts. And if you heard them, you'd get pulled into their spell, like they was trying to lead you somewhere you'd never come back from. Grandpa always told us that he got sometimes so scared he'd run straight into the fog. His cry echoed, and the fog disappeared. But the moment the fog broke, it was like it just vanished as fast as it came. He never saw the riders, but the fog. This story, he says, is from West Virginia folk. Grandpa would always say, if you're in the fog and you hear the hooves, that means the riders see you. And if they see you, well, you're going to be taken by them. Now, my grandma said she had a way of looking at you when she talked about certain things, like you knew she knew something, but she never said much. I once asked her about these braided symbols I had seen only one time in the woods, and she started to tell me, but not too much. It was one of those things she'd only tell me just enough about. Once she told me about a time when she was younger walking through the woods with her mother. One afternoon, just before fall, they went deeper into the forest when they found a sign. It was in a tree with a kind of braided pattern carved into the bark. Grandma said it looked like a symbol for the way home, but she knew that was not a good sign. Anyone who sees that symbol, she said, they ain't alone. And anyone who wonders about it, they'll find that symbol and they'll find them one day. I asked her what that meant, and she looked at me for a long time before she said, it's a symbol of the guardians, and if you find it, you know the woods have claimed you. But after that, you ain't got no claim on them. Later, I learned that the guardians weren't regular people or animals, but something else. Maybe ghosts, maybe haints, or maybe just nature itself testing us to see how far we'd go. Grandma always said, you should never look for that sign. You just need to make sure you don't find it. My grandpa always says things to the haints and ghosts. Exactly, Aramik. Haints are just demons. It's all demonic somehow. I think there's something really like, I don't know. I've always thought about the Appalachians because the Appalachians have had like a rich history even before the white settlers came. Like Native Americans wouldn't go too far into the mountains or the woods. Only when they had to travel, but they wouldn't go too deep into the mountains. But it's, if you really think about how much bad shit happens in the Appalachians, and then like there's a reason why hillbilly heroin, like the government flooded that area with hillbilly heroin. Just, why would you do it? Not to make money. Obviously, like if you wanted to make money, you'd fucking flood LA with it first, but like, no, we'll flood the Appalachians with it. Why? Because the government's demons. Neutrino, I am doing well tonight. Thank you. Jeff, every time you burp on camera, I instantly get I can't help it. The fucking Mexican Coke makes me burp. That's so funny. Oh, this one's good. This one is really good. I won't burp anymore. I don't want to dry you up. It'll be like a prune. Oh, fuck. All right. This one's long, but it's pretty interesting. When I read it, I was like, holy shit, this has like a connection to everything that we talk about on this channel. About 3 years ago in September, my friend, I'll call her Agatha, and I drove up into southwestern base of Mount Hood to view planets with her new telescope. We often go to national forests for stargazing or night hikes. We are both experienced woodswomen. She's been a lifelong camper, and I've been a wilderness survival guide. We've both spent long periods of time in the wilderness. Both of us have had bear encounters, cougar encounters, wolves, elk, moose, name it. I've also had my fair share of strange encounters with other people in the forests, from stumbling upon occult rituals to people living off the grid. But those are all stories on their own. All of this is to say that neither of us spook easily and are very used to diverse sights and sounds of the forest. Agatha had been to this spot that we were heading before. It's a dispersed campsite off a medium-used Forest Service road. We wanted to go to this particular spot because we knew it was high enough elevation that we'd lose a lot of light pollution, but not so high that we would run into snow. It was a decent spot for stargazing with about 150 feet diameter clearing that was mostly dirt and gravel. Though Agatha had been there before, I have never been and wanted to drive a bit further up the mountain to see if we could find a slightly less treed view. So we drove another few minutes up the road. Along the way, I spotted a tent about 60 feet off the right side of the road that looked like another dispersed campsite. The odd thing was there wasn't a vehicle parked at the site, just the tent. Another odd thing was that there was pretty cold. It was pretty cold to be camping in a standard 2 to 3 season cabin style tent. Night temperatures that time of the year at that elevation were about 30 to 40 degrees. And this night it was like 36. When I pointed it out to Agatha, she slowed down a bit to check it out. I was concerned maybe someone had left the tent, and if so, we would take it down and dispose of it properly. So she slowed down to 5 miles an hour, and I briefly shined the light toward the tent, but not directly on it in case someone was inside sleeping. In the 10 seconds or so it took us to slowly drive by it and look, like maybe the tent wasn't fully zipped up, and I could see through the mesh door. It also looked improperly assembled. We didn't think much more about it and kept driving. We said we'd check out the tent fully to determine if it was a dumped item on the way back down. We drive maybe another 1 or 2 minutes when the road narrows severely as it curves on an incline. We are both used to sudden changes like this because Forest Service roads are known to be wily. But for whatever reason, Agatha comes to a full stop before taking the curve and says, "I don't think we should go any further." I said, "Okay, well, why?" She said, "I don't know. But I'm turning around and going to the spot we originally came for." I was slightly concerned because she sounded a bit upset, but I chalked it up to her just being excited to finally use her new telescope. She reversed about 50 feet, turned the truck around, and headed back down to the clearing. As we approached the spot where the tent was, I took off my headlamp and handed it to Agatha so she could shine it out her window on the left side of the road where the tent was. Weird thing is it seemed like it had moved 30 to 50 feet down the road. It just didn't seem like it was in the same spot as before. Once we see it to the left of the headlights, she came to a full stop on the road right in front of it. What was even creepier is that it now seemed to be closer to the road than it was before. But since I wasn't thinking too much about it the first time around, I just assumed it was one of those fallible eyewitness memory moments and let it go. But I could only let it go for about 5 seconds. I don't know what came over Agatha, but she decided to shine the headlamp at full blast directly on the tent. I said, "Whoa, wait a minute. We still don't know. There might be someone sleeping in there." But as soon as I looked at the tent, I shut up. I stared at it for about 10 seconds before I said, "What the fuck are we looking at? Is that the tent?" Agatha said, "Yeah, I think so. It's just upside down." I blinked my eyes a bunch, thinking maybe the cold air caused them to water and it was messing with my vision. I stared at it for another 5 seconds. I don't know how else to explain this, but it looked like I was staring at a Picasso painting of a cabin-style tent. Nothing was where it was supposed to be. I looked away for a few moments, thinking I should have brought my glasses, and I couldn't believe my night vision was suddenly so awful. At this point, I noticed a feeling of uneasiness creeping up on me and shrugged it off. I asked Agatha if she saw anyone in the tent. She took a few seconds to answer me and said, "Dude, to be perfectly honest, I don't know what the fuck I am seeing, but yeah, I think someone's bare legs are sticking up in the air." My heart went straight to my throat, and I immediately thought, oh no, someone is in fact inside, and they are either dead or dying of exposure. Agatha whispered, "What the fuck is that?" I looked toward the tent again, and for a split second, it almost looked like there were, in fact, someone's bare legs sticking up as if they were on a cot in a dead bug position with slightly bent knees. But this was through the mesh part of the tent's door, so I couldn't make it out fully. I blinked my eyes a bit because for whatever reason, this damn tent was too hard to look at. And when I opened my eyes in this millisecond of blinking, the mesh door was closed and the legs were gone. This whole time, it still looked like a Picasso painting, and I started to get a headache because it felt like my brain couldn't reconcile what I was seeing, even though it was seemingly ordinary object. It was so disjointed, so out of proportion. It seemed to shift every time I blinked. Agatha started mumbling, "What the fuck," every few seconds, when she suddenly shook her head, rolled up the window, and said, "Let's go." Someone is probably sleeping in it. I have no idea why she came up with that conclusion or why I went along with it, aside from that it's the only reasonable explanation. We both experienced out of ordinary things in the wilderness, so while this is definitely strange and caused both of us to be on high alert, we didn't panic and we rationalized the weirdness away. But of course, that didn't last long because this night was determined to be strange. We left the tent and whoever may or may not have been sleeping in it and pulled into the gravel clearing 5 minutes down the road. We both put on our headlamps and scoped out the area for trash and critters. First odd thing to happen at the area is that while we are at the edge of the clearing, Agatha almost fell to the ground on her face. What's weird about this is the fact that she is an avid outdoorswoman, lots of experience walking at night on and off trails with or without lights, and not tripping or falling. About a minute later, the same thing happened to me. As I am walking from the edge of the clearing back to where we'd set up a tarp and blanket, I tripped and almost fell backward. This happened to both of us about a half a dozen times or more, tripping over nothing, tripping over our own feet. It almost felt like the ground wasn't where it was supposed to be. Rationally, I could say everyone has off days, and in my case, I hadn't been there before. But she had, and she was familiar with the area. Plus, I routinely visit new places many times, and I don't recall ever tripping and stumbling like this outside of treacherous terrain or creek walking. So I don't know. Make of it what you will. Again, we brush off the weirdness, and she goes about setting up her telescope. I lay down on the tarp while she tries to get Jupiter into view. She spent maybe 3 minutes setting up the telescope and about 30 minutes trying to lock onto Jupiter. Every time she gets it lined up on the scope and takes a moment to stand up straight, so all of 5 seconds, bends down to the eyepiece again, and Jupiter is gone. This whole time I'm lying on the ground on the tarp with a crocheted blanket draped over me, perfectly comfortable. I didn't notice just how comfortable I was until she asked me to come over and look through the scope to see if I could keep Jupiter in sight. As soon as I stood up, I noticed the temperature change from where I was lying down. It was suddenly way colder, not like a wave of cold air. The air was still. It was like the temperature on the ground was 15 to 20 degrees warmer than the ambient temperature. I also couldn't keep a bead on Jupiter, and after another 5 minutes of trying, we gave up and laid down on the tarp and started stargazing. After chilling out for a few minutes in silence, I realized that Agatha didn't have the blanket, so I asked her if she wanted to share mine. She said, "No, thanks, I'm not cold." This was odd because she is one of those people who's always cold. So, for her to decline the blanket was just another check on that weird anomaly night. I mentioned that to her and that I had noticed a change in the temperature from about 10 to 12 inches off the ground. I wish I had thought to put my hand directly on the ground to feel if it was cold or not. But at the time, none of this was registering as a red flag or something to pay attention to. As I was staring up at the sky, which was perfectly clear, I noticed that it was split in two, running east to west. The best way I can describe it is that there was an invisible line demarcating half of the sky into the northern and southern section. The northern side was somehow lighter than the southern side. It almost looked like the north side was affected by light pollution, whereas the south was not. But it gets even stranger. As soon as I noticed the split in the sky phenomena, I also noticed the stars on either side were twinkling at different rates. As soon as I noticed that the split reversed. The south was now lighter than the north, and now it was darker. I pointed this out to Agatha. She watched for a while and confirmed she saw the same thing happening. We chalked it up to some unknown natural phenomena. I have yet to get solid answer to how this happened. It wasn't a light pollution dome or a light dome of any kind because of the demarcation was stark, not all diffused and fuzzy. The sun had set at least an hour and a half earlier, so it was not twilight wedge either. It also could not have been due to the crepuscular rays because we were facing west. I would love for a meteorologist to weigh in on this. Another 10 minutes passed. I was so comfortable, I felt like I could fall asleep. In fact, I was starting to close my eyes when Agatha suddenly sat up and shook me. She said she saw a light coming from approximately where the Picasso tent was, through the tree line to the southwest. I didn't bother sitting up and just turned my head to look in the direction. I asked if she thought it was a flashlight, and she said maybe, but it seemed to be too high off the ground. I said it probably was a person who was staying in the tent, and maybe they had just gotten back from a night hike or going to the bathroom. She agreed and laid back down. Some time passed. I lost track of minutes as I was staring and starting to doze off, but I guess it was anywhere between 10 to 20. I was perfectly comfortable, lulled into a light sleep, maybe even a mild state, when I suddenly sat bolt upright, Agatha still laying down and appeared to have fallen asleep. There was no noise. Nothing discernible woke me up. I looked toward the tree line to the southwest and saw the light. For a split second, I was congratulating myself for having such sharp senses that I could tell when someone was walking with a flashlight that far away. But that faded quickly when I noticed another light and another. I had one of those moments where my mind couldn't piece together what I was seeing and couldn't match it to anything I had seen before. There were a total of 3 lights or orbs. I wasn't seeing beams of light emitting from a flashlight. What I was seeing was orbs of light floating independently through the upper half of the tree canopy toward us. They were maintaining a triangular formation, but they were rotating around one another. They had a bluish hue, like a cheap LED sun lamp. I couldn't say for certain how large they were because I had no frame of reference aside from the tree line, which was about 50 feet away from where I was sitting. But the orbs were not directly at the edge of the clearing. They seemed to be much further away. I could tell they were coming towards us as they appeared to be getting slightly larger as I stared at them. I shook Agatha and pointed toward the tree line. She turned her head in that direction and shot up to her feet. She grabbed her telescope, and I stood up and wadded up the tarp and blanket. We threw everything in the bed of her truck without putting the telescope back in its case or anything, and floored it out of there. I have never felt that kind of dread that I felt on that mountainside that night. I was full of fight or flight mode to such a high degree, I felt like I wanted to run while in the truck. The panic was so awful that my breathing was erratic and my hands went numb for minutes. We did not speak until we fully got out of the woods and onto Highway 26. Once we saw another car passing, it was opposite direction. We both sighed with relief and started in a bunch of what the fucks. To this day, I don't have any answers. It was such a bizarre mismatch of occurrences, each thing on its own barely strange, but I couldn't help think that the temperature change, the ground being wonky, the Picasso tent, the split sky, and the orbs were all related. Then again, it's brain's jobs to try and make sense of everything, even when there's nothing to make sense of. Our panicked reaction, shared sense of dread, that was also strange and out of character for both of us. It was a sudden, visceral reaction. It felt like there had to be something else at play to make us both react that way. Hopefully someone here has some explanations for us. Thank you for letting me share. Otherwise, maybe it was aliens. Demons. I emailed you a while ago, Libra. I don't know. Let me check on Jane again. Okay. Janie. Nope, she didn't respond. She was active 4 hours ago. She's probably sleeping. Yeah, I did. A while ago. You never respond to me. Sonia, how are you? Evan Hawk. Yeah, I talked about that. I said, did you send it to the Proton? Yeah. That's the email that I only have. You're good. I'm almost home from DoorDash. Okay, Belle. Is that Belle? I think that's Belle. It's probably Belle. I had some vampire stuff the other week. That's why I emailed you. That's right. I did email you about the vampire stuff. Maybe you didn't get it. Maybe because my email is weird because I still don't get all my emails. It's so weird. I had some pretty good vampire shit a couple weeks ago. Let me check and maybe make sure I have. Damn. There we go. Fucking nuts. I think. Let me think here. I thought I had a couple tucked away. Maybe I saved it on my phone. I know I saved it. Hang on a second. I'll find it and I'll share the vampire one with you. Oh, Daddy. Ew. Hang on 1 second. Here we go. So that. Yep, here it is. Libra, this is the vampire one that I put aside. Two days ago, I was with my friends at a party. Everything was okay and boring for me because I can't drink alcohol. I have stomach issues. Nevertheless, we had some fun, left the party early, and went to the friend's house to chill. After a couple of minutes, I heard some of his friends come in and join us. Several hours passed, and because it was getting very late, I wanted to leave for home. Some friends of his decided to take me home in the car, and before we reached the car, we saw several men out in front of the car. Many who looked drunken, but I wasn't expecting any kind of trouble. As I walked past the car to get to the back seat, waiting for the owner to let me in, a man approached from the group and told him to get inside the house because he was needed by someone. It appeared to me the owner knew this guy because he did exactly that without opening the car or telling me anything. I just stood there for a couple of seconds, then decided to walk back to the house to see if he was still willing to take me home or if I should go on my own. I had my driver's license suspended due to an accident a few years ago. I went in the house, couldn't see the owner, and said goodbye again to some of the friends while I was thinking of my journey home because public transport at that hour doesn't work. It was about 4 a.m. I live in Eastern Europe, by the way. I don't know if the United States, the public transport system differs, but in the same time, the man that was outside apparently walks in the house with two more guys, and it caught my attention. He had a medium brown, darkish hair, slim with loose clothes, very common looking actually, but that wasn't the thing that caught my attention. When he entered the house, I just had a strong feeling coming from him that I cannot describe that well. He looked at me. He had a dark brown glassy eyes, didn't say anything, but then started to move around and nobody was noticing him, even the two guys that went with him. And that's when I realized his movements were so unnatural or weird. Like he was going further, it seemed like he was going backward. His arms were behind his body as he moved. The feeling I had was not fear, though. Like you would be scared of an unknown, like ghost, demons, the dark, a horror movie, etc. This was a feeling I had a few times when someone died or saw something very graphic and gore related. Kind of the same feeling. My brain just rewired that way, like you suffered a real psychological trauma. I swear I could feel it in my brain. It was the same feeling I had when I watched someone years ago fall off the stairs with blood running from his ears. He looked at me intensely, which seemed at that time very long period. I couldn't move. I now remember opening my mouth halfway and just staring back at him, eyes wide open, and fixated my vision at him, but didn't want to make eye contact with his eyes. Subconsciously, I think I told myself not to look for some reason. He never spoke a word or someone else engaging him. He went straight for the door after making these rounds inside the house, and for a second he stood under the door entrance, turned his head again to look at me. He was pale white in a way that evoked the same feeling in me as before he left. I tried to gather and tell myself that there was nothing wrong at all in all of this, and left my friend's house for home. I forgot about the whole thing while outside freezing and me walking in the snow, feeling sleepy and tired until I saw him again near a closed travel agency building. He was ahead of me, leaning against the glass wall. He didn't seem to notice me, but I knew then that was him. I switched sides on the sidewalk to get some distance, and with one eye looking over in his direction, he noticed me halfway and smiled shortly. Couldn't see his face better because of the snow and the distance, but I did notice his mouth was deep red, almost bloody. I picked up the pace, worrying that he might follow, but he stood his ground, and shortly after, we were out of range on my way home. I tend to smoke a little bit. I had this irrational fear when I got home. I lit up a cigarette with my window open that someone might come in, and I was thinking of him specifically. Though I live in an apartment at the 15th floor, nothing happened, of course, and I went to sleep. For this hour that I am writing this, I remember vividly the same feeling I had when I encountered this man, and I can't shake it. Somehow I get a mental image and visualize this man as I did back then, somehow not human, and yet human enough not to be afraid in a way I would be of a deep supernatural. I guess only one word came to my mind when I think of him. A sort of vampire, though strangely enough, it's not from any book or fiction or myth, I know, but I keep sensing him like that. Don't know why. I could tell myself that it's nothing out of the ordinary, but the experience and the feelings I went through were anything but ordinary. I have kept in mind that I can't ignore them, and subconsciously I give them credence. I am sure now more than ever this was not a human. I sensed that he was not human from the first moment. And then there was one in the woods. Hang on. This is it right here. This is the one that I read last week, Libra. Dracula is a fictional story, but this is a real story. Romans believe that the vampires exist. We call them strigoi, the ones who scream. That's the transition of the word. Strigoi are evil spirits that come at night to torment people by calling out their names. Strigoi are thirsty for blood just as vampires. They can come in human or animal form. Strigoi are completely free on their St. Andrew's night, 30th of November to be exact, our type of Halloween. My great-grandmother told my mom that she had heard a strigoi calling out her name. She said that it was very important to remain silent, otherwise bad things could happen. They have the power to cause health issues to people who respond to their calling. When my mom was a child, the whole community, along with a priest, went to a cemetery to kill a vampire. A man from the village died. He was a sinner, or so everyone said. His family started to experience weird things. They would hear him calling their name. Soon, all the members of the family fell ill. That's how they decided that their relative was a strigoi. My mother remembers that they used a wooden stake to kill that creature. She remembers some noises coming from the grave. My great-grandmother was there as well. She said that the man looked like he was sleeping, even though he had been dead for 6 months, supposedly. Oh. There we go. The Ravenmocker. The Ravenmocker is the enemy of the Snellygaster. You're welcome. I got a couple more stashed for you, too. What's up, Scott? How are you, buddy? Wolf Howland, do you live in the Appalachians? Because the Ravenmocker is usually like an Appalachian folklore. I'll share one more with you in a second, Libra. No, it's folklore, truth driven. Look it up, truth driven. There's actually it's a legend, just like the right there. There you go. The Snellygaster is that bird-like lizard creature that flies, and supposedly the Germans brought the legend of the Snellygaster and the Ravenmocker over with them. But yeah, in South Carolina as well, I believe that the Ravenmocker and Snellygaster are both still spoken about to this day. It's weird. The real story behind Stranger Things, it's mainly about Montauk. It's about the Montauk chair. But you know someone made this shit up? How do you know that? Like, it'd be like saying that Bigfoot's made up. You know what I mean? People literally saw these things. There's a reason why for generations in different countries, hundreds and hundreds of years, every culture has a variation of these creatures. Every culture has a variation of Dogman. Every culture has a variation of Bigfoot, vampires, flying humanoids for thousands of years. You can go to China and some of the older things and find it. Yeah, sure, but people have seen them though, you know what I mean? I haven't. You haven't, but some people have. I haven't seen a crawler, but I know they're real. I saw a dog man. It's in New York. It's in New York, Libra. Montauk is in New York. It's just on the outside of the Hamptons. It's at the like very tip of Long Island. And there's I did a really good deep dive video on it. There's a guy, his name's Danny. He did the Montauk chair where it's actually, I did it the other day, the uploads the other day. He summoned a creature that he was sitting in the Montauk chair. They were called the Montauk Boys. And they were sitting in these chairs and they would use psychokinesis to summon creatures and to time travel and to do other strange things during the period of time from like the Philadelphia experiment is part of it too. And like when the Philadelphia experiment happened, this guy was on the boat and he fell off the boat in a whole different dimension. So he fell off the boat in like 1947 and ended up in 1983. So he like jumped future. It's fucking weird. I Soul Rebel, I do uploads about deep underground facilities on a daily basis. I don't need to look it up. Did Montauk? Yes, Montauk opened portals. There were portals everywhere. All right, here's the last vampire experience I have for you, Libra. I've debated on sharing this. I had a very strange experience, and it's bothering me enough that I decided to share it. On a Saturday, my husband and I went out for drinks. There was a band playing. We danced and sang and had a good time. We Ubered home. My husband was completely wasted when we got home, stumbling, falling. He said he left his phone at the bar, so I got him into bed and called the bar to see if they had it. They did. They did not. Excuse me. A car pulled back up, and I thought it was the Uber with his phone. I went outside to get his phone, but it was the singer from the band. He asked where my husband was, and I said that he was asleep. He then said he had to tell me something. He said he had noticed my energy at night and proceeded to tell me that he was a vampire. Not a blood-sucking kind, but an energy soul vampire, and that he could turn me. That I'd live forever and never age. I started to get really scared, and he was sharing lots of details, like his past names, past wives, his favorite author from the 1800s, and so on, and said he wanted to convert me and made a loud guttural sucking noise. There's a lot more details, but I don't want to get into them right now. We have Ring cameras, and he never showed up on the camera, just me. But there is a video of the car leaving. My husband did not wake up until noon the next day, very unlike him, and I told him all of this, and he thinks that it was a dream or that maybe somehow my husband was drugged and we were followed home. It was not a dream. There is footage of a car leaving. It was not a dream, the footage of the car leaving. I have, however, been having bad dreams since this night and have been restless over the whole situation. This is not something I believe in, but I cannot help shake the uneasy feeling I have. Fucking creepy. What the fuck? What the fuck? Huh. That's weird. Read my comment above. 59th. Good on you, Jeff. The guy Danny with the French Canadian who opened a portal and downstairs with his sticker on his bedroom wall. It was here glass. Yeah. There's a book on it. Libra. I'll send me an email, or I'll send you an email, or send me an email, and I'll send you the book. Or give you the title of. There's like a bunch of different books, but there's one book written by Bill Cooper when he wrote books under his pseudonym so he could share more information under Commander X. It's hard to get, but I'll send you a website so you can read it online. I saw you. I was reading those comments, 59th. I was like, what in the fuck, dude? That was weird. Right? You're welcome, Libra. By Milton William Cooper. It's the Gorillas, Libra. But it is Pazuzu from The Exorcist. The lead singer of Blur and the Gorillas is a big fan of the movie. It was confusing. It was confusing, right? 59. You know what's weird is the fucking that thing that what he was talking about, the wolf hunting. Have a good night. Dude, look up that thing though that we were talking about with the Snellygaster and the Ravenmacher. And you'll literally see, I was weird because it's like it's from the Appalachians, but I do in that region, but I do believe it's from South Carolina to be 100%. Yes. I have my dad, when my dad retired from the Department of the Navy, he had gotten the book, the original Bill Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse. And there's a bunch of revised issues of the book. And at one point, I took my dad's book, I took his copy, and it had like 50 to 60 pages that the new revised ones don't have. And someone stole it from me. I was so fucking mad. I don't really watch other channels, Libra. But did you see what I got, though? Did you see that, Libra? Thank you. I haven't figured out a way of doing it yet. I'm kind of figuring out what I'm going to do with the channel. Because I want to do like I don't know. I want to do bigger and better things. Exactly. I just want to move forward and just fucking like what we were talking about earlier with the whole Luciferian agenda and how weird it is that Brian Johnson, a mayor from Chicago, called upon the UN. Like when a super soldier in the super soldier program back in the 70s and 80s talks about how the UN, Bill Cooper talks about how the UN, Phil Schneider did, like, is part of the Luciferian agenda. Why would a mayor, and why would he try to incite UN to butt into American business? This is fucking weird. You know what I mean? Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Exactly. Go and grow. He's just a tool in it, the wolf. He's just like a little tool. That's what's so weird is like he thinks that he's like the weird thing is they all think like, oh, I'm gonna be part of this Luciferian agenda. I'm gonna rise to ranks when they don't realize that they are just a fucking speck. Like Jay-Z and Beyonce. Like they're rich and famous, but to the Luciferian agenda, they are nothing. They are like literally all they are is a tool to broadcast disinformation and evil. That's it. They may be billionaires, but to the elites, they don't matter. You know, it's so weird. And they're just like, boop, gone. And there's only 13 families that have that bloodline. Do you think Dogman seen you when you were in the woods? I know that it saw us when we were in. Yeah, I did his story the other day, James. I know that the Dogman saw me and my friends that night. What's the Brandon Johnson? Brandon Johnson, he's the mayor of Chicago, Libra. And so because Donald Trump is sending in ICE officers everywhere, he said he made an announcement and went to the UN and spoke in front of the UN asking them for help to stop ICE agents from doing a job that they're supposed to do, regardless if you agree with the policy or not. You know, like it's the job that they're supposed to do. And this guy goes to the UN as a mayor, like a mayor. That's it. He's no better than you or I. He's a fucking mayor, you know? And like that would cause a war. Like fucking weird. Wiley, what's up, buddy? Yeah, it is. It's the exact like all I agree, Sonia. I agree. It's Chicago's mayors too. Have you ever noticed that? Like that weird lady that they had previous. She looked like a fucking gremlin troll. She's like she looked like Shrek's fucking spew. I laugh at people like they're like Mondami's gonna cause like major trauma in the United States. He's a fucking mayor of New York City. That's it. Like he's a mayor, you know? You don't think that the government has already put like a contingency plan on it? Lightfoot, yeah, she's a fucking twisted little character. She's like, "Nyeh." Yeah, I agree, Libra. I agree 100%. It's a weird dude. He's a weird guy. And I'm not saying because he's a Muslim, he's not, Muslim doesn't matter. Like, your religion is your religion. We shouldn't even talk about religion in politics. They shouldn't even talk about religion. Like, that's what you believe in, you know? But like, haven't people learned that communism and socialism doesn't work? Like, that's why America is the great American experiment. We've worked. We're the only country that really has worked, you know? Like, deep dive on this. Think about this for a second. Why does the United Kingdom have nuclear weapons, but their nuclear weapons cannot be accessed unless we give them the key? America holds the key to the United Kingdom's nuclear weapons. Did you know that? It's weird. Like, we literally are the only country that truly works. And it's because we have a, like, we change continuously, but we follow the same fucking guidelines that these brilliant men have put before us. Like, you're screwed when a guy that claimed to be a rapper and then says my aunt, my cousins, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, godmothers, girlfriends, box carrier, wore a hijabi and got attacked in 9/11 after. Like, none of that happened, you weirdo. I have got, I agree, Libra. I have got a lot of, I don't know how many people, like, I have met some really amazing people in my life. And I think all of you guys have too, like, I guarantee all of you guys have. And I guarantee that many of you have met Muslim people that are fucking amazing. Like, I know a guy who is Muslim who I talk to on a regular basis, and he is like literally one of the most peaceful, nice people I've ever met. Like, just a genuine person. And I don't think religion, I mean, you can literally, what's the word I'm looking for? Fucking weaponize any religion. Like, you can have a weaponized Catholic religion, you can have a weaponized Islamic religion, a weaponized Jew religion. Like, it's just how the people, it's just like who they are as a in their heart. It doesn't matter what religion you are, as long as you're just a good person. That's the way I look at it. There's good and bad and everywhere. Like, you can weaponize fucking atheists. They're probably Antifa. Who knows? I don't know. I do know that Muslims recognize Jesus Christ. I know other religions don't recognize him. That's all I got to say about that. DB Mac, right there. Two guys, good call. Duncan Cameron and Al. Fucking amazing names pulled out of the hat on that one. DB Mac, good job, brother. James, you're new to the channel? Because I have literally talked about those guys a lot. Sorry, Libra. Didn't mean to burp on camera. I know you just dried up like a fucking grape. All right. Enough of the weird religious freedom talk. But that's how I feel. I literally feel like we are all like, my whole thing is we all have like, we are not 1%. I'm not a 1%. You guys aren't 1%. The people that I'm told to hate aren't 1%, but I'm told to hate those people by the 1%. So maybe we should just hate the 1%. You know, like, I think if we all fucking sat down and looked at who the real issue was, maybe then everyone would get along. I'm glad that you're here with us, James. Did you really, DB Mac? Dude, you gotta fucking send me an email. For real? Wow. I did 2 Lizzos already, Scott. I got one coming up. You know what? It is Lizzo time. Here it is. Lizzo, Lizzo, Lizzo. The Rusty Axle Truck Stop, located just off of I-40 in the heart of the unforgiving high desert, was a place where dread merged seamlessly with spilled diesel. It was the ancestral kingdom of Lizzo, the undisputed lot lizard queen. She ruled her asphalt domain with a velvet fist and a meticulously organized schedule. Earl, a man whose primary skills included competitive eating and absolute devotion, wasn't exactly royalty. He was a simple, large belly owner of a permanently parked Kenworth named Betsy, and he was hopelessly, pathetically in love. The proposal came not under the pale moonlight, but under the flickering, sickly yellow lamp of the emergency brake check zone. Lizzo, baby, Earl mumbled, presenting a plastic ring he had won from a malfunctioning claw machine, which contained a tiny, recognizable depiction of a cartoon frog. I cleaned out the oil pan tonight, and it hit me. My life is empty without you filling it up. Marry me. Let's make this official. Lizzo, busy counting a stack of singles, paused. She looked at the ring, then at Earl's earnest, beefy face. He represented stability, loyalty, and free access to the Kenworth's surprisingly comfortable sleeper cab. A week, Earl, she said, tucking the money into her rhinestone-encrusted fanny pack. 7 days. I got a calendar full of appointments, a schedule to be cleared, and the reputation to maintain. We're doing this too fast, cheap and loud. A week later, the wedding was in full, glorious swing by number 4 diesel pump. Lizzo wore a white jumpsuit salvaged from the vintage store, accessorized with a veil fashioned from a truck mud flap. Earl was in a borrowed, ill-fitting tuxedo stained with motor oil and hope. The justice of the peace, who preferred to be called Reverend Rusty and reeked faintly of cheap whiskey and regret, was officiating. The assembled guests, a collection of tired long-haul truckers, 2 nervous regional managers from the distributor, and a man named Skid, who claimed to be Earl's best friend but mostly just slept in the parking lot, looked on, generally touched by the purity of the absurdity. Do you, Earl, take Lizzo, the lot lizard queen, to be your lawful wedded wife, forsaking all others and respecting her business hours? Reverend Rusty slurred. I do, Earl roared, tears welling up. Just as Lizzo was about to affirm her vows, the air temperature dropped 40 degrees, and the smell of sulfur choked out the scent of diesel fumes and frying bacon. A vortex of sickly green light ripped open above the slushy machine. Out stepped two figures who understood the true meaning of wedding crashing. Satan, the lord of the underworld, was immaculate in a custom-tailored scarlet smoking jacket, his eyes glowing like embers. Beside him stood his plus one, the former dictator of Iraq, Saddam Hussein. Saddam was less formal. He was encased head to toe in black patent leather gimp gear, complete with strategically placed chrome studs, a spiked collar, a facial mask that showcased only the deepest dissatisfied eyes. He clutched a leash which was attached to Satan's wrist. "Oh joy," Satan drawled, surveying the scene with a magnificent disdain. "Matrimony, such a quaint, messy little ritual. Where there is love, there is immediately a need for profound, agonizing misery. And frankly, this place needed a serious infusion of evil." Lizzo narrowed her eyes. "Look here, pal, I don't care if you run hell, but this is a contracted affair. Our reception is started in 10 minutes. And if you're not here to buy us house appliances, you can take your freaky latex pal and exit the premises." Satan merely smiled, a terrifying display of perfect teeth. "We simply need a venue to conduct some truly inspired business. The bathroom will suffice." The men's room at the Rusty Axle was already a monument to public health violations. When Satan and Saddam arrived, it became a portal to the very specific personalized circle of hell. The sounds emanated from the third stall quickly escalated from disturbing whispers to wet echoing noises that defied logic. Gary, a trucker from Oklahoma who had stopped solely to mourn his rapidly approaching middle age, was waiting in line, increasingly worried. "Hey, everything all right in there?" Gary asked the stall door, which was locked. A sound like gravel being choked by a foghorn answered. The door to the stall suddenly swung open, revealing Satan perched jauntily on the toilet lid. Saddam, still in his gimp suit, was involved in an extremely complex, highly non-consensual taboo that involved a plunger, several chains, and a bewildered trucker named Hank. The air crackled with dark demonic energy and the smell of cheap disinfectant, trying desperately to lose the Gary, Satan cooed, gesturing to the scene with flourish. "We're just engaging in some soul-level reorientation. A little light BDSM, heavy on the eternal damnation theme." Gary forgot his middle-aged crisis. He screamed, a high-pitched sound that traveled across the lot and into a newly erected wedding tent. Inside the tent, the celebration had started. Lizzo and Earl were sharing their first dance, a sloppy, joyous grind to Sweet Home Alabama. When Gary's scream pierced the party, Earl sputtered his beer. Lizzo stopped grinding. Her eyes flashed with a fury of a woman whose special day had been ruined by an invasive, low-class behavior. "Inconsiderate," she hissed. "We paid good money for the catering, and they're scaring the appetizers." "Let's go, wife," Earl said, pulling the massive pipe wrench from his back pocket. "Nobody messes with the Rusty Axle without paying a toll." Lizzo and Earl marched straight into the men's room, shattering the unholy taboo of Satan and Saddam with the sheer force of their marital outrage. Satan looked up, annoyed. "Honestly, must you disrupt the flow? We're just getting to the ritualistic binding phase. This is art." Lizzo scoffed. "Art? No, this is just tacky. If you're going to be evil, at least be original." She gestured toward the frightened trucker, Hank, who was whimpering under a pile of discarded paper towels. "You're scaring the customers. You're making noise, and you haven't put a single dollar into the local economy, you low-rent villains." "We're literally an embodiment of eternal cosmic malice," Satan protested. "And we are trailer park chic," Lizzo retorted, positioning herself in front of her husband. We know a thing or two about dominating reluctant participants. And trust me, you're doing it wrong. Earl, without a preamble, charged Satan, the Lord of Darkness, prepared for brimstone and righteousness, was utterly unprepared for the sheer greasy monument of a man high on wedding cake and marital bliss. The fight was less of an epic battle of good versus evil and more of a savage, chaotic brawl involving professional grade toughness versus cosmic arrogance. Lizzo utilized her agility and a heavy chain she kept on her person, wrapping Saddam and the gimp suit to be remarkably good for traction in a tight, suffocating bondage of his own making. Satan shrieked as Earl hammered him with the pipe wrench, lest it hurt and more because of the vulgarity of the attack offending the ancient sensibilities. Your brand of sin is boring, Lizzo shouted, pinning the struggling Saddam beneath her combat boot. You think you're so scary. You live here, we deal with meth heads, exploding tires, and chronic indigestion. You're just tourists. The ultimate violation came swiftly. Lizzo secured Saddam completely, leaving him motionless, latex-clad lump. Earl pinned Satan against the tiled wall, then looked at his new wife with a grin of pure, debased admiration. Ready, honey? Let's send him back to hell, Earl. But make it awkward. The maneuver that followed defied physics, anatomy, and every known moral code. It involved a specialized application of the pipe wrench, an incredible burst of hellish power from Satan as he realized the true horror of his defeat, and the shockingly flexible body of the former dictator. There was a sound that made Gary and Hank collectively faint. A wet, popping, final sound of defeat. Satan screamed a high-pitched celestial wail of indignity, was suddenly standing upright. He adjusted his scarlet jacket and shaky hand. He looked defeated, violated, and utterly, profoundly humiliated. And protruding from his posterior of the Prince of Darkness, right where the fiery tail might sprout, was the sight of a bald, slightly disgruntled head encased firmly in a studded gimp mask. Saddam Hussein was trapped inside of his lover, head first. Satan staggered backward towards the glowing green vortex. This is a violation of the Geneva Convention of the Underworld, Satan shrieked, pointing a furious finger at Lizzo. I will have my vengeance. I will send you a strongly worded letter to the management committee. Lizzo just blew him a kiss. You should have brought a better wedding present, sugar. The portal snapped shut, leaving behind a faint smell of sulfur, fear, and what smelled specifically like devil. Flap veil, adjusting her fanny pack, and surveyed the wreckage. All right, show's over, she announced to Gary and Hank, who were slowly regaining consciousness. Free pie and coffee for everyone. And Earl, darling, I think you just earned extra privileges tonight in your sleeper cab. Earl beamed, putting the pipe wrench back into his pocket. He had married the woman of his dreams, defended his domain, and successfully violated the devil. It was the most perfect wedding day a man could ask for. Night, Neutrino. You're good, Libra. You're good. Night, M1000. All right. Last experience of the night. Lizzo, I am done for the night. I should have did a fourth Lizzo. I'm fucking mad that I didn't. I wish I had another Lizzo. Damn it. Night, Sean. All right. A few years ago, I was walking along a trail in a wooded area in Ohio during daylight. At first, I thought I saw a person crawling on the ground, but as I got closer, it didn't look right. Its face was partially human, but had a canine like snout. Its body was tall, extremely thin, ribs visible, with long human like hands and fingers, legs that looked more like a deer or a coyote. Its eyes and ears looked human, but the overall impression was off. It gave off a strong smell of rotten flesh and let out a guttural, agonizing scream before sprinting toward me. Another person nearby saw it from a different angle and described the exact same features. We both panicked and ran in opposite directions. It was a bright daylight, no heavy shadows. The creature seemed solid and close, within a few feet. To this day, I have no idea what it was and have not been able to find anything that fits its description. Ugh. I'm working on a Lizzo book. I am working on a Lizzo book. Good night, SDL. All right, guys. Thank you for joining the live stream. How you have how you have how you want to do it. I know it's crazy. I never thought it would be possible. I never thought it would be possible. David, I want to hear your alien experience. Libra, send me an email, and I want to send you that book. Thank you, Papa. Guys, great night tonight. If I offended anybody by being too political, I don't apologize. It's just my own feelings about things. I just think everybody should just get along. There shouldn't be any bullshit. People are fucking weird. Not us, but people, like the 1%. We just need to be like better, you know? I think everybody could be great. Just, I don't know. I watched this movie the other day, and it was the movie about the nuclear bomb, where the guy who played J.D. Vance in Hillbilly Elegy was in it. And it made me think. Like, after I read Annie Jacobson's books, if you ever want to get a good book, Annie Jacobson is an amazing author and an amazing researcher. She wrote a couple books on Project Paperclip and some other things. But with all the shit that's going on, with like, now they're redoing nuclear weapons and shit, like, that's the big scare. Like, why are we fighting over this little shit? You know, like, that's just so dumb. We have two idiots that have fucking access to fucking powers that could wipe out the whole planet. And that's scary to me. You know, anybody, and I just think anybody who threatens the nuclear word is an idiot to me. Like, I don't know. I think Ronald Reagan did it right and got rid of a lot of them. But to me, that's the biggest fear. And we were given that technology by demons / aliens because they want the end of humanity. And they're getting their stuff right now. So I do have a great book collection, Libra. I have an amazing book collection. I don't read just like I read some pretty decent like nonfiction stuff too, and fiction. But I read a lot of weird shit though. I read like William Burroughs stuff too. Like, I'm just a weird person, but I think reading is great. I don't know. Anyway, guys, I love you all. I have so much fun with you guys. I hope you guys had a great night. I know I did. And I'll see you guys probably Friday. The live stream will probably be on Friday because Isabel is turning 18 on Saturday. And my baby is going to be 18. Holy shit. So I'll probably do the live stream on Saturday because I cannot believe my baby is going to be 18. She's not a baby anymore. She's a big girl and she can wipe her own ass now. All right. Love you guys. Have a good night. No, her boyfriend's 18. Love y'all. Love you, Libra.